All right, a special request from the comment section. For today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal Scavenger. Yeah, this is a very cool figure, one that I've always really liked. Kind of an interesting history with this guy, because when we take a look at the Transmetals, not counting the Transmetal 2s that came later, Scavenger is actually the only one that is an original character rather than just like a new version of one of the characters from the cartoon, which led a lot of people to theorize that originally this guy was meant to be a new version of Transmetal Inferno rather than Scavenger, which I think has been backed up by more evidence than just that. But yeah, no, it's I mean, he turns into a fire ant. He does have a lot of the same aesthetics as Inferno in robot mode, at least as close as the other Transmetals did to their original characters. So I'd say there's fairly decent evidence of that. But for whatever reason, they did end up making him a new character, Scavenger, and that happened early enough along on the design process that he actually got the word Scavenger actually tampoed on him, like some of the other Transmetal figures had, like Rat Trap was tampoed on Rat Trap. But yeah, so for whatever reason, this didn't end up being a Transmetal Inferno, but then he got to be his own character, and it's a really cool figure. I absolutely love this ant mode. I think it looks really cool. It's just like this big steampunky robotic ant. I think this is really successful. This looks, a lot better, I think, than the ant mode of the original Inferno toy. So yeah, it's able to sort of stand on its own. It has these wheels back here that end up being part of its Transmetal third mode. So it's mostly sitting on those, but then it is supported by the front legs. So I've never actually, I don't know if I've ever actually tried to get it to stand without those. I think it would creep down eventually. Like it can sort of stand that way, but I think slowly but surely the ball joints are kind of giving way. So it might not be super perceptible, but I think that it is kind of moving down towards the ground. But either way, I think that it looks really cool, just kind of standing there menacingly. In terms of articulation, all of the legs individually are on ball joints at the hips and at the knees, and then have a hinge at their secondary knee here. So really posable, because you can use these as like swivels as well as like actual hinge joints, and then the hinge at the knee itself. And all 6 of the legs have that, which I think is really cool. You would not see that on a modern figure. They would have to be kind of like set into place. The head has kind of an interesting bit of articulation. I mean, just in terms of the head itself, the antennas here are on ball joints, so they can kind of rotate up and down and then swivel as well. And then the little mandibles here can hinge open and close. The head is like pegged together from these 2 separate halves, each of which are attached actually way back here on ball joints and then attached by hinges onto the head. So because of that, you can kind of wiggle it back and forth and get a little bit of give in those joints to kind of give the head some like expression there, which I think is pretty cool. A lot of the figure is done in this sort of like clear plastic that has like this sort of like sparkly effect to it. I don't know if you can kind of see it on there, which I think is really cool. And so far, I mean, I haven't had any issues with breaking or anything like that. It seems to be fairly strong. Most of the pieces that are made up of this plastic are attached via like other pieces of plastic, except for like maybe the head is attached there, but I have not seen any issues with this guy like breaking or getting brittle. Likewise, he does have a pretty decent amount of chrome on him, and at least on this one, the chrome has held up pretty well. Then I guess in terms of other articulation, it can also kind of like hinge up and down here at the body, just because the entire front half of the ant pretty much just becomes his arms, and the rest of him is just the abdomen section, which is kind of funny. But yeah, no, really good ant mode. Very dynamic. It's got a good amount of posability. It can kind of hold its own weight fairly well, like more than you'd expect. But yeah, pretty good. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just very standard one. Here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. And of course, here he is with Legacy Inferno, just so you can see him with another red ant there. But yeah, in terms of transformation, again, so being a Transmetal, he does have the weird sort of like third vehicle mode. So how you're supposed to get to that is you take the ant head here, and on these ball joints and on its hinge, it'll kind of like double hinge back here to just sit on the main body. And then you take these wheels in the back, like I showed off earlier, and they just flip out to the side just like that. And again, this is where his, if I can get it working here. Yeah, there we go. This is where his Predacon Spark Crystal is the little rub sign. And then apart from that, you're really just supposed to do whatever you want with the legs. They could just set out like that if you wanted. What I usually do is I usually take the back legs and kind of, bring them to the back like this. I'm not sure if there's like an official transformation for what you're supposed to do with them, but this is what I always do. And then take the middle ones and kind of rotate them up like this so they kind of sit over the back legs. Just like that, and then take the antenna and kind of fold them in line with those legs, and then take these and also just fold them up like that, just to kind of get everything out of the way, just so it's sitting, like up rather than like more out to the side. And yeah, I mean, he turns into a little drill tank here. Now he does have a couple like rolling wheels on the bottom here that actually activate the drills. So if you roll them along the bottom, then those actually spin. For whatever reason, these also are on hinges. That's not really helpful in robot mode either. So it's kind of just to the figure's detriment, because like, I don't know, it just means that it's really hard to get them kind of like lined up so that they're spinning around without actually like, getting kind of like misaligned and flopping around like that. Just looks a little bit weird. But it's possible if you just work with it. I just don't really understand why those are on hinges to begin with. And yeah, as the Transmetal, like alternate modes go, it's okay. I mean, like most other drill tank designs, it seems like really impractical because it's like, okay, he drills into a wall up to this point, then what? The rest of him is not a drill, so wouldn't it just stop there? Usually, if you're doing a drill tank, doesn't the drill have to be at least like the sort of, overall diameter of the rest of the figure, right? Otherwise, how would he drill into the wall any more than that before the solid wall just stops right there? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just, the impracticality of the whole drill tank thing. But yeah, so continuing on with the transformation, I mean, usually I don't really go to this mode, so I'm just going to put his legs back into the orientation that they were in for ant mode, so we can work with it from there. That's the other thing about this guy is in ant mode and in drill tank mode, sometimes these two sections have a hard time staying tabbed together. Like this entire, these are his arms, so this entire section kind of splits down the middle, which can be a little bit annoying. It's not usually too bad, but if you're like messing around with it, it does kind of like fall a lot of the time and just split down the middle. Sorry, I'm just got these legs going the wrong way. So yeah, we'll leave these pegged together for now, put the wheels back in, and then we pretty much just want to focus on the back half of the figure here, where you take this entire section on the abdomen here and just untab it, and it will come down like this on this hinge, and then you sometimes it'll unclip. That happens a lot, but it just clips right back on, and then it's on a ball joint right here, so you just rotate it around like that, and then just hinge it up onto these wheels here. And then take these sections, which will be the legs, and just rotate them down and unhinge them at the knee here, and then flip open the toes here, just like that. And there we have the main body of him. Like I said, really the entire like half of the ant is his arms. And then you want to take these sections here. Let me just adjust the camera here real quick so we can see what's going on. So you basically take the entire top sections here and just rotate them down like this, and then rotate them up at this joint, and then rotate them down to kind of become the arms here. And yeah, so he is one of those Beast Wars figures that just has like the bug legs kind of hanging off the arms, and then you just take the head here, which is hinged down, and just fold it up like that. And there we have Scavenger in his robot mode. And then I guess, these could be whichever way you want them to be. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with the arms. I usually just kind of like to leave them out to the side like this, kind of sticking out all crazy like that, sort of similar to, Tarantulas and Black Arachnia's design. But, they still have all the same joints that they did before. So you really do have a number of options there. And yeah, no, I think he looks really cool. Like it's definitely a kind of chaotic design with all of the like legs sticking off, but still really nice head sculpt. I love the sort of like grinning smile there like that, which is again another reason, it's clearly not the same exact design as the original Inferno, but it definitely seems like, oh, this would have been an appropriate Transmetal update to that design similar to like how a lot of the other guys kind of changed how they look. Like, you know, Cheetor's head design is very different from his original version versus his Transmetal version. This kind of looks like that kind of update. But yeah, also enough to be its own character if you want it to be. But yeah, the head is on a swivel here. And then, I mean, just for transformation, it can kind of look down on the body there. It's like an ab joint, but like a chest joint, just specifically for his head. It works. The arms, they can rotate around here at the shoulders and then hinge out to the side, both at this joint here and at this joint here. So, you know, pretty good range there. He's got, does he? Yeah, I guess this is below the elbow. He's got a swivel below the elbow, not a proper bicep swivel. And he does have a hinge here to get about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. He doesn't really have hands. He just has these drills here, which is mostly just to serve, you know, the drill tank mode. Would have been kind of cool because, like, you know, if you were ignoring the, like, drill tank mode, you could, in theory, like replace these with like regular hands, and it would work perfectly fine for transformation because they would be hidden under the ant head in you know, bug mode. But yeah, I mean, I guess technically this is a wrist swivel, and then he also does have this sort of inexplicable, you know, hinge here, which again, I don't really see why he needs that. I mean, I guess you could like, you know, do this in robot mode, but that kind of looks stupid, doesn't it? I don't know. I guess if these were just solid pieces, then they would stay a lot more stable in that drill tank mode. And I don't, again, like really think that they have any reason to have that hinge. So whatever. Nothing at the waist. The hips are on ball joints that get a pretty decent range forward. And back, a little squeaky there. And then out to the side about that far. He doesn't really have any thigh swivel, just aside from the ball joint that the legs are attached to. He's got a very deep knee bend for transformation, just because of how they fold up there. That works out pretty well. And then the feet can only really tilt down, but the heels are kind of stuck into place there. Yeah, the one thing I've found about the feet is that I wish that these pieces, like, folded up just a little bit more, because like really when you're looking at like the flat there of his feet, it angles his legs backwards a little bit. So he can't like, he always has like a slight angle backwards. So you just kind of have to like compensate by that by like, you know, folding his legs a little bit forward, which gives him like kind of a weird stance and can make him a little bit difficult to stand sometimes when you've got him in certain sort of positions. Like, it's not terrible. It's just like there's a kind of like a lean back and then forward, which, you know, doesn't really have to be there. Another really cool thing about his design, again, using this translucent red plastic, is like the actual structure of his legs here is not made out of the translucent red plastic. It's made out of these black pieces, which are kind of in the middle, and then the red pieces are just kind of armor, which means that, you know, you're not really in risk of the translucent plastic giving and then breaking the leg off, but also gives this really neat look where, like, if you're looking at the front here, you can see this like bone structure on the inside of his legs. Like, you can see his femurs, and I think that that's a really cool design there. But yeah, no, definitely a bit of kibble in the back here. Again, like, if you wanted to totally like remove the like, you know, drill tank thing, I sort of would like to try that at some point. Like, maybe if I can get another version of this guy to like take it apart without like really risking it, seeing if I can't like replace the drills with like actual hands and then take the wheels off so that, you know, this piece could just like sit closer up to the back. I think that like if you just removed the like the tertiary mode, then that would kind of improve the figure overall, because he'd have actual hands and his backpack could sit a little bit better. But I don't know. It's not like it's bad now. It's just like, oh, that could have been cool. But yeah, no. So decent articulation. You know, he's got thin enough feet that he doesn't really like miss having an ankle tilt or anything like that. So other than that, he's like fairly standard in terms of like regular day like figures. But yeah, in terms of comparisons, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard one there. And here he is again with Legacy Inferno, just for another Ant-Man comparison. And then I guess, you know, we could give him the head sculpt that came with Antagony here as well. Not going to bother screwing it on there properly. It's still just kind of loose on there, but that's what they look like together. If you want to like do the weird, stupid, like Transmetal Scavenger mode that doesn't like click into place, so he's got the chest detailing, that's what they look like. This one's better. I leave this as Inferno and Antagony. But yeah, no, fairly decent figure. I really like him. He's got a lot of fun qualities to him. I think, like, you know, I don't necessarily need the third mode, but in terms of the like Beast Wars, like Transmetal third modes, I think his is one of the more successful ones. He's definitely got a lot of junk on his arms here, considering that like over half of the ant is just becomes the arms. But you know, it kind of works for him. I think he wears it well. But yeah, not a whole lot else to say about this figure. It's a really cool figure, and if you can pick one up, I definitely recommend him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal Scavenger. Ooh, I can get him standing here.